As a lady, it could be very, very embarrassing for you to be walking in the public and then you are still trying to scratch yourself, especially your private region. You understand? It could be very, very embarrassing, especially when you are looking with your composure and steels, and then you are beginning to misbehave in the public because of itching down there in that region. So today we are going to talk about what could be causing it, and then we are going to discuss what you can do at home to reduce the occurrence of itching and then burning sensation down there in your private region. Welcome to Vital D. All we do here is to bring health tips closer to your nearest doorstep. So today we're talking about vaginal yeast infection. We are going to look at what vaginal yeast infection is all about, what is causing. We are going to discuss some symptoms of it, and then we're also going to look at some treatment modalities that you can follow to prevent the occurrence of vaginal yeast infection. And then lastly, we are going to also look at what you can do at home to prevent the occurrence of vaginal yeast infection. Welcome once again. So vaginal yeast infection is just a kind of infection that occurs. It's also known as Vulvovaginal Candidiasis. It occurs when there is a growth of yeast, particularly the Candida albicans in the vaginal area. So once there is a growth of yeast in the vaginal area, it leads to vaginal yeast infection. Ordinarily, yeast is not a bad guy. So far, the quantity or the number of its occurrence in the vaginal environment does not outgrow its normal balance. But once it outgrows the normal balance, it gives a problem. It could lead to serious issues. It could also lead to a lot of symptoms that we'll be talking about. This Lactobacillus is what helps to check that the bacteria and then the yeast is maintained at a balance. So once this balance is being disrupted, it could lead to serious issues in the woman's body. So we are going to discuss what could be causing this vaginal yeast infection, and we're also going to talk about the various symptoms and what you can do at home to remedy this. So what are the causes of vaginal yeast infection in the life of a woman? So number one on our list is antibiotics. Now, antibiotics, in as much as antibiotics is one of those elements or is a parameter that we use to prevent or totally eradicate the occurrence of bacteria in our system, it could also lead to the development of vaginal yeast infection. For example, if you use antibiotics that you're supposed to use for a particular condition in your vaginal area, and at the end of the day, it didn't finish the treatment course, you have made that place vulnerable, and you can also allow microbes or yeast to grow in that kind of condition because you didn't finish your treatment. So you should always try to finish your treatment. Take your antibiotics as prescribed by your prescriber. Once you do that, I can also tell you that you are going to reduce the occurrence of vaginal yeast infection. Now, another thing that could cause vaginal yeast infection is hormonal changes. Now, hormonal changes in the life of a woman could also lead to or could manifest as a vaginal yeast, can lead to vaginal yeast infection occurring. For example, during pregnancy, or people that are taking birth control pills, or even people that are undergoing hormonal therapy, that could expose one to occurrence of vaginal yeast infection that you need to take for granted, that you don't need to take for granted, and you should always visit your prescriber and then complain to them on time. Now, another thing that could cause the development of vaginal yeast infection is what we wear. Now, as a lady, I know you want to wear fitted clothing, but those fitted clothing that you are wearing has a side effect of it. One of the major side effects it has is those fitted clothes they are wearing, they trap those moistures around your vaginal area. And now once they trap those moistures, it serves as a breeding ground for those yeast to grow. So you should also look at what you are wearing as a lady. In as much as you want to look wow in the public, you want everybody to who's going there. Like once you are passing, all the guys are turning their eye. You also have to look at your health at the end of the day. So pay attention to what you wear, as it could also expose you to having vaginal yeast infection. Now, another thing that could cause vaginal yeast infection is diabetes. That is excessive sugar in your system. Now, if you have uncontrolled diabetes as a woman, it could also expose you to having vaginal yeast infection, because when you have high number of or high quantity of sugar in your blood and as well as your urine, that could serve as a breeding ground for this yeast to grow. And once that happens, it could also expose you to having vaginal yeast infection. Now, another thing that could cause vaginal yeast infection is weak immune system. Now, if your immune system is weak, you understand, you have a weakened immune system, you are very, very vulnerable to a lot of things, a lot of disease conditions. You understand? If you have those kind of immune system, you can be, you are sure that you could be exposed or liable to have vaginal yeast infection as a woman. So with all these things we have mentioned, the various causes of that could lead to vaginal yeast infection, we are going to look at a factor that could lead to the occurrence of vaginal yeast infection is douching. Now, as a lady or as a woman, you should avoid anything that will make you to use any scented product to wash inside of your vagina, because once you do that, you are going to disrupt the normal balance of yeast and bacteria in your vagina, and once that occurs, it could result to vaginal yeast infection. Now, I know a lot of funny things is happening out there. where some ladies will buy a particular product, say you insect it in your private your vagina for a period of maybe 2 to 3 days, hoping that it will bring out all the dead cells in your vagina. Now, I want to tell you something. Once you are doing those things, you are disrupting the normal balance of your vaginal flora. And once you do that, you are the liberty, or you are exposing yourself to dangers of vaginal yeast infection and other these things that could come up in the future. So please, before you buy any product to insect in your vagina as a lady, always talk to your healthcare provider. You can't just go to all these skincare vendors that are selling products. Yes, everybody wants to make money, but let us talk about your health. It's very, very vital. It's very, very key, because most times those products are not from a trusted source. They just say, okay, you can buy this product, put in your vagina for a period of 1 day. It's going to make your vagina to be scented, or to have I don't know, the euphoria that you want to have down there. But one thing is sure. Once you begin to buy those products that are not from a trusted source, you could expose yourself to a lot of dangers. So one of those dangers is vaginal yeast infection. So please, know what you are using in your vagina as a woman. You can't be using your hand to wash that place, to use scented soap, scented product to wash that place. Once you are doing that, you are going to disrupt the normal balance of that place. And once you do that, you could be at the danger of having vaginal yeast infection. So having mentioned all these factors that could lead to the occurrence of vaginal yeast infection, we are going to talk about the symptoms. You know, there are a lot of symptoms of vaginal yeast infection, but we are going to be discussing the most common one. You understand? Though these symptoms, don't mean that these symptoms does not occur for other conditions. Don't quote me wrong, please. Know that these symptoms are peculiar to vaginal yeast infection, but you must meet your healthcare provider to stamp that, okay, you are having vaginal yeast infection, so that could be backed up with a proper treatment. Because once we identify these things on time and then you get treatment on time, I can assure you that you are going to get back to your normal life on time. So common throat number one of the major symptoms of vaginal yeast infection is itching. Now, itching is one of the most commonest symptoms associated with vaginal yeast infection. Like you're walking on the street, you'll be feeling that urge to itch yourself, to itch your private part as a woman. It could be very, very disgusting, and sometimes that could reduce your composure and your skills out there. So please, once you begin to feel those burning or those itching mindset, you understand, that itching spirit down there, I can assure you that you need to meet your healthcare provider so that we could address it on time. Then you get back to whatever you're doing on time. Now, another major symptoms of vaginal yeast infection is burning sensation. You know, this kind of burning sensation maybe during sex, or maybe during intercourse, or even during while you are urinating. You'll be feeling that burning sensation. That could be a sign of vaginal yeast infection, or symptoms of vaginal yeast infection, that you need to talk to your healthcare provider so that you can get treatment on time. Now, another symptoms of vaginal yeast infection is thick white discharge. Now, a lot of this discharge, you understand. Now, most of this discharge could be odorless, you understand. So please, once you begin to see those discharge that is coming out from your private part or from your vagina as a woman, you need to talk to your healthcare provider, because it might be a sign of vaginal yeast infection. Another symptoms of vaginal yeast infection is redness and swelling. Now, at the entrance of your vagina, the vulva, you might notice that your vulva is red and it has swollen. So that could also be a major symptoms or sign of vaginal yeast infection that you don't need to take for granted as a woman. Once you begin to notice all these things as a woman, please, I encourage you to meet your healthcare provider so that you can get treatment on time, because the earlier the better, because most of these things are so stubborn and are so adamant to treatment because of the occurrence of drug resistance. Now, the last one that we are going to talk about, the symptoms of vaginal yeast infection, is painful intercourse. Now, a lot of couple out there, maybe during your intercourse, you might be experiencing painful penetration. That could also be a sign or a symptoms of vaginal yeast infection that you don't need to take for granted. So once you notice all these signs and the symptoms that we have listed so far, please, what I will encourage you to do is to reach out to your nearest healthcare provider, talk to them. Don't be ashamed of what you are feeling down there, because your health is paramount to us. You understand? Now, person will know where they pain, know how to complain. So once you feel it, please reach out to your healthcare provider, talk to them, get counsel, and then get treatment on time, because the earlier the better. So having discussed all these signs of vaginal yeast infection, we are going to talk about treatment. What can you treat? How can you treat vaginal yeast infection? Number one, we are going to talk about pharmacological treatment and then non-pharmacological treatment. Now, I will dwell more on non-pharmacological treatment, because that is what you can do at home. These are simple things you can do at home to reduce or to prevent the occurrence of vaginal yeast infection. So, starting with a pharmacological treatment, in which we are going to talk about the use of drugs. Now, the use of drugs in treating vaginal infection, I will classify into two classes. We'll talk about the over-the-counter medications. Now, these over-the-counter medications I'm looking at just those like examples of those drugs are the clotrimozoles, miconazoles, and the rest of them. Now, these drugs comes in forms of cream, comes in forms of ointment, and then even in form of suppository that you need to insert inside your vagina as a woman. So please, once you notice all these things, it's not the time for you to just walk into the community pharmacy shop or maybe a pattern mixing dealer to buy this product by yourself. Always talk to your healthcare provider so that will be the one to prescribe the right drugs for you, because sometimes it might be someone that is having recurring episodes of this vaginal infection and you have been using a particular product for some time and you're not getting result out of it. That means we need to place you on another product that will give you the best treatment possible or the best treatment outcome that you need. So you don't need to go back to, okay, maybe you went to the hospital, let's say 3 years ago, and a particular product was prescribed because of vaginal infection that you're manifesting. You don't need to go back to using that product because it was already prescribed to you. So always visit your healthcare provider so that they'll prescribe the best drug for you so that you can use it in the treatment of your vaginal infection. Now, we also talk about the prescription pills. Now, depending on the severity of your infection, the doctor may prescribe some antifungal pills that you can also be used in the management of vaginal infection. Such example of those pills are the fluconazole tablet, in which your prescriber will always prescribe for you to use it. Please, whenever this product is being prescribed, always ensure that you finish your treatment course, because once you finish your treatment course, I can assure that you are going to get the best out of this treatment. So, having discussed the pharmacological treatment plan for vaginal infection, we are going to move straight into the non-pharmacological treatment plan, because this is where I pick interest in. I'm an advocate of what can you do without necessarily taking drugs to prevent the occurrence of most of these diseases and infection out there. So, coming forward, number one, we are going to talk about your wear, your clothing. Now, as a woman, I will encourage that you go for fitted, loose cotton wears. Those things will allow you to will keep your vagina area dry, and then it will be dry and clean. Once you allow, and it will allow air circulation around your vagina environment. So once that happens, I can assure you that you are going to reduce the occurrence of vaginal yeast infection without necessarily taking a drug or any molecule at all. So always ensure that you go for breathable clothing, loose cotton. The clothes must be something that allows air to circulate in your vaginal area, so that at least you will not be at the risk of expressing vaginal yeast infection. Another thing that I will encourage the ladies out there is to limit the consumption of sugary snacks. Now, once you put yourself in high rate of consuming sugary snacks, you are increasing the quantity of sugar in your blood and your urine. Once that occurs, that makes the environment vulnerable for yeast to grow. So having talked about pharmacological aspect of how you can treat vaginal yeast infection, we are going to talk about non-pharmacological treatment model that you can use at home to prevent the occurrence of vaginal yeast infection. More or less, how can we prevent the occurrence of vaginal yeast infection at home? Number one, take your antibiotic as being prescribed. Now, a lot of people take antibiotic without finishing the course of their treatment. Maybe after a period of 2 days or 3 days, they begin to feel well. You understand? They now abandon that drug. So what they are doing is you're exposing yourself. And as such, in the nearest future that you want to use that kind of drug again, it might not work because of the development of drug resistance. So always ensure that you use antibiotic as prescribed by your prescriber. Do not stop your treatment plan halfway. Always complete the course of your treatment. Now, another thing you can do at home to prevent the occurrence of vaginal yeast infection is to wear breathable clothing. Now, those clothes I will recommend for the ladies are loose cotton clothes that will allow air to flow through your vaginal area and also keep the place dry. That could also prevent the occurrence of vaginal yeast infection. Also, avoid the use of scented product to douche yourself. Now, as a woman, as a lady out there, I will encourage you to keep yourself away from using scented product in your private part or your vagina to clean yourself. That could disrupt the normal flora of the bacteria and yeast in your vagina, and that could expose you to having vaginal yeast infection. So try to prevent or try to avoid using scented product down there, because you also going to prevent or reduce the occurrence of vaginal yeast infection. Now, another thing you can do at home to prevent the occurrence of vaginal yeast infection is wipe from front to back. Now, after using the toilet as a woman, always wipe from front to the back of yourself, because if you're wiping from back to the front, you are pushing those debris towards your vaginal area, and that could also pose a threat to occurrence of or development of vaginal yeast infection. So always ensure that you wipe from front to back so that you can prevent the spread of those bacteria towards your vaginal area. Once you do this, I can assure you that you are going to prevent the occurrence of vaginal yeast infection at home. Another thing you can also do to prevent the occurrence of vaginal yeast infection at home is to limit the consumption of sugary snacks. Now, as a lady or as a woman out there, I will encourage you to limit the consumption of sugary product, because once you do these things, we are going to this sugary product, most of those products can be passed out in urine, and once those urine are is subject to high concentration of sugar, that serves as a breeding ground for this yeast to grow. So once that occurs, you could be vulnerable and you could be liable to express or to experience vaginal yeast infection. Then, and lastly, another thing you can do at home to prevent the occurrence of vaginal yeast infection is always change your clothes once you are done with your exercise, like gymming, or maybe you are coming down from the swimming pool. Always change your clothes. Then always try to keep the vaginal area dry. Once you do that, you are going to prevent the occurrence of vaginal infection. If you are enjoying content from Vital D, please subscribe, share, and tell people about us, because all we do here is to bring health tips closer to your nearest doorstep. Thank you for watching and sticking around with us. Bye. See you then.